straight into the split screen, which is not the screen that I meant to go to, but we'll go with it. Hi, welcome into twitch.tv/Ice Cream Uploads. My name is Graham D, and I'm joined by the man, as you can see on screen there, by Bib. I'll read Bib.
Good afternoon, Graham. How are we doing?
Yeah, it's all right, mate. Although, just to confirm, it is after morning now, but we went live in the morning because we do a pre-show on Twitch now. If you listen to this on the podcast services or watching on demand, we do a pre-show on Twitch. So we're live for about 20, 30, 40 minutes, depending on the day, just chatting, shooting the shit. That you know, stuff that's happened over the weekend or the last few days before. So we've been talking about Christmas movies and stuff. And if you want conversations about Christmas movies, then do feel free to join us on twitch.tv/Ice Cream Uploads when you get the go live notification, because you end up with some good chat. Nice. Anyway, we are live now though to give you our thoughts and impressions on the biggest, the best, and breaking stories from the world of video games. And it's not just about the stories. We'll give you our thoughts and impressions, but we want to hear your thoughts and impressions, and then your thoughts and impressions on our thoughts and impressions. So if you are with us live on twitch.tv/Ice Cream Uploads, where we go live each and every single weekday ish at 10 a.m. Ish. Then please do feel free to get involved, because as mentioned, the live stream is turned into a podcast and a video on demand, a video on YouTube and an audio podcast on iTunes and Spotify and Amazon Music and Google Play. That is a lot of places where over 200,000 people have watched and listened to this podcast on demand. So please do feel free to get involved on behalf of all of those beautiful people. Before we jump into the news, though, a couple of talking points. We did mention in the pre-show that Wednesday of this week, that is the 21st, will be the last day of scheduled content for 2023 on ICU. There will probably be more content before the end of 2023, but not scheduled. It will be ad hoc because we both have families and lives and stuff, and we all enjoy Christmas and stuff. So we'll probably have some time to play games in between. Probably. But obviously, in previous years, we've had that time, and in previous years, we haven't had that time, because Christmas, you know, Christmas is like one minute you blink, and it's December 26th, bloody hell, and then you blink again, it's like 4th of January, like, what the fuck? So
I'm already sat at my desk, like, what the fuck happened?
It's still got half a fucking pigging blanket in your hand as well. Like, what the fuck? So,
I'm still wearing my elf pajamas.
So yes, we will probably bring you some extra streams over Christmas, just unscheduled. So obviously, if you are watching this on Twitch, make sure you got your notifications on. That's the best way to be notified when we go live. Obviously, it doesn't give you the foresight to be sat there around, but it's Christmas. Nobody has foresight and plan the shit around Christmas, right? Everyone just flies by the seat of their elf pajamas throughout Christmas, right? Yeah, right. Okay, also, it's a couple of weeks off yet, but we will have a loot drop. It's not 2 weeks today, it'll be 3 weeks today, because 2 weeks today is the 1st of January, which is the first Monday of 2024, the first Monday of January, and usually on the first Monday of the month we do the loot drop, but obviously that rolls over to a day when we're actually in, and I'm not actually back until the 8th. I don't know if you're back on like 2nd, 3rd, 4th, or whenever it is we go back in.
Yeah, whatever day we go back in, that's when I'm back in. I've got no holidays left.
I think it's the 2nd, but we will roll the loot drop on the 8th. So if you are a sub on the 8th of January at 3 p.m, we'll export the list of subscribers, and one person then will bag themselves a prize. Speaking of prizes, shout out to Mackenzie, who is currently on course to bag himself a full Logitech G bundle. Ooh. We had a few Double Trouble games on the weekend. We reduced the price, dropped it down to 500 sprinkles for people to get involved, and a lot of people did. There were some really good games. Doom at one point was on course to beat the score, and then we got chopped down in our prime. Mackenzie had another go and was on course to further his score. Got chopped down by two really sweaty boys, but still managed to get the second highest score. So if you did get multiple places, Mackenzie would be in 1st and 2nd place right now. So yes, there's only a few streams left, potentially as little as one on Wednesday. Yeah. So do feel free to join us for that stream. If you see us go live with PUBG between now and the new year, obviously do feel free to drop in and get involved with the Double Trouble League between then. But obviously, 31st, 11:59 and 59 seconds is when the year ends, and that's when the Double Trouble League table shuts down as well. So if you haven't got yourself top spot by then, it's Mackenzie's stuff. So yeah. Tank got a few good games actually. It was just one of those days where you either get rolling, or people just third party you, and you get shit on kids. So yeah.
You are. It's a battle royale. It's genuinely look of the draw, roll of the dice, shall we say?
Yeah. Well, let's roll the dice into some news. Mr. Bibb, would you like a brand new PS5?
I mean, there's nothing wrong with mine at the moment, but if there's one on offer, then why not?
I mean, I'm not even talking a slim version. I'm talking PS5 Pro upgrades.
Oh my goodness.
Well, that's what we're going to kick off with. We'll jump into a story about that. We'll tell you about what's following first, though. So Naughty Dog says it's working on multiple, quote, ambitious brand new single-player games. Activision Blizzard is paying $54 million out because it's owned by Xbox, and that's just what you have to do when you owned by the Gap. No, I'm joking. It's discrimination lawsuit stuff. It's actually quite serious. So they're paying out a chunk of cash, which is basically, I assume from the title, the end of their discrimination sort of stuff. Legally, obviously it never ends, but we'll then go from that to E3, which obviously this is an article that happened last week, but we haven't had a chance to speak about it in depth. But E3 is officially dead, which is very sad. But we'll talk about that one as we get to it. For now, though, we'll kick things off with the first news article. Written by Tom Ivan at VGC. PS5 Pro could launch in 2024 with Sony's own DLSS solution, it's claimed. Multiple sources have suggested that Sony's preparing a mid-gen PS5 upgrade. So into the article, Sony could be planning to launch a PlayStation 5 Pro console in late 2024. It's being claimed. Giant Bomb reporter Jeff Grubb said he'd been able to corroborate claims that Sony is working on a mid-gen PS5 upgrade. Quote, that PS5 Pro leak is almost certainly real, based on what I've heard now, and obviously I'm not the only one out there saying that, but I can throw my confirm into the ring for everybody, he said. Is that Jack Boswell? Confirm.
That's a say, confirm.
The system, quote, probably... end quote, is coming out in September 2024, Grubb suggested. Quote, the current specs are based on a range of possibilities because they have not fully dialed that in.
My name is Optimus Prime.
Gagad!
Did wonder why I was getting an advert.
The reason you get an advert is because we have to pay for Bibby's Lambo somehow.
Confirmed.
So yeah, that's why.
Season of giving.
Exactly. I appreciate the 5 months in a row, 38 months in total, Gagad. Thank you very much, and enjoy your ad free viewing. Nice. Okay, I'll go back for that bit. So the current specs are based on a range of possibilities because they've not actually fully dialed that in, he claimed. The big thing here, like the big feature that this system will support, is Sony's own proprietary DLSS-like solution where they use their own machine learning to improve images so they can run things at a really high resolution and really high frame rate, and they would include their own hardware on the PS5 Pro to do this. That's where, like, the 2 times hardware ray tracing acceleration comes into place, but they would be able to do even more than just better hardware ray tracing. So yeah, this thing is probably happening, end quote. DLSS, or deep learning super sampling, is a feature exclusive to NVIDIA graphics cards. I want to stop there for a second. Whenever I watch anyone from the UK, they say NVIDIA or NVIDIA. I watch anyone from the US and it's NVIDIA. What? Which fucking one is it? I didn't even realize.
I go with NVIDIA.
I didn't even realize NVIDIA was like countered. But then again, I always thought it was Asus ROG, not Asus ROG and stuff like that. So these Americans just
we're the fucking idiots, aren't we?
Yeah. So anyway, I'm going to stick with NVIDIA. So DLSS is a feature exclusive to NVIDIA graphics cards. On PC, it works by using AI to upscale the resolution of games, effectively allowing developers to achieve higher graphical settings and better frame rates on weaker hardware. In legal documents published this summer, Xbox maker Microsoft said it was expecting Sony to release a PS5 Slim and PS5 Pro consoles in the near future. PS5 Slim launched in November. Okay, we don't need to talk about sales stats because we've got all of the information there, but DLSS, which for anyone that's been around the Tech Bro conversations about next-gen consoles before they arrived, there was a lot of talk about, okay, ray tracing's cool. Yeah, the fact that we've got higher frame rates and better resolutions and stuff, but, you know, DLSS is the real future. So if we can get any sort of DLSS-like stuff in next-gen, winner. And then, obviously, we don't really have that sort of stuff. But it could be coming in PS5 Pro in 2024. Rumoured to be coming out in September. Could be a game changer. What do you think, Mr. Bibb?
Yeah, it's a weird one. I might be being naive with this statement, but when I'm looking at people streaming or when I'm looking at gameplay and stuff that have been captured on PC and they're making trailers out of it and stuff, I haven't seen a massive difference in what the PlayStation 5 and Xbox Series X can push out. Like, again, graphics have never been the kind of thing that's always enticed me into a game. It could be a pixel art game, and I think that looks better than some of the modern AAA games that have all of the graphics on ultra high and look super realistic and stuff. But it's always come down to what the gameplay genre is, what the aspect of the game is, and then the art design afterwards. So I haven't seen anything that makes me think, do you know what? I think it's time for a PlayStation 5 Pro. I think when I'm playing games on my PlayStation 5 on my 4K TV downstairs, I think it looks sensational. I haven't thought, do you know what? I think this is being held back. But again, I probably aren't the target demographic for a PlayStation 5 Pro at this moment in time. Same way that I'm not the target demographic for someone who has the latest and greatest graphics card within their computer. Like, it's just not aimed at me. I'm more than happy of having console generation upgrades as and when they're available. But even when it got towards the end of the PlayStation 4's life cycle, I thought we might start to struggle. I'm definitely at that point now with the Nintendo Switch where I'm thinking, okay, this is starting to get left behind now compared to everything else around me. But when I'm playing PS5 games or I'm looking at new trailers of games that are coming out that have been captured on PC, I'm not thinking, do you know what? I think we need a better version of the PlayStation 5 Pro. But I mean, what's going to be put into the PlayStation 5 is obviously what's been lacking for the PlayStation 5 now. That's fantastic for the people that obviously want the latest and greatest, the best looking visuals and stuff like that. But it's definitely not something I'm going to be investing in. Same way that I didn't invest in a PlayStation 4 Pro at the time. I'll just wait for the next console generation. I am not the target demographic for those consoles as and when they come out.
Well, I picked up a PS4 Pro, but similar sort of reason, really. I don't feel like there was much need to jump to a PS4 Pro from PS4. There was like some 4K-ish upscaling stuff. I can't even remember. I don't know if it was 4K or if it was kind of 4K upscale. I don't know what it was. It was better than the PS4, but marginally. And I only really got the PS4 Pro because Chloe wanted a PS4. So I got a PS4 Pro for me and gave her my PS4. Job's good, and everything gets like downcycled kind of thing. If she's got a PS4, she can play. I've got a PS4 Pro. Job's good. Everyone's happy. Win, 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 win. Obviously, it was shit because my PS4 Pro was badly manufactured, so overheated when you drop one smoke grenade in fucking PUBG or anything like that. And that wasn't just limited to me. That was quite widely known. So I've never really been the person that feels like I need to upgrade mid-gen. And Tito's just said, our current gen consoles really being pushed graphically if game devs are still supporting PS4 consoles. I believe that is the thing as well. Has anyone thought, oh, do you know what? We're at the top end of this game now. This game can't do any more. I don't really feel like we have consistently. So don't get me wrong, a PS5 Pro bringing DLSS does allow them to get a massive step in graphics. You can get to that 4K. You can use machine learning to to fill in the gaps, so you're not having to like preload a bajillion gig of data to make these wonderful graphics. You can do half of it and then get the AI to fill in the gaps. Job's good, and that's effectively what DLSS does. And if we could do that to make things more beautiful, bigger, pronounced, but I don't feel like we're doing that consistently to the top end of where we are anyway. So it is a nice to have, but like Tito says, we're still in a weird situation where PlayStation 2-3 years ago believed in generations. We've got the PS4 and we've got the PS5, and the PS5 is a step ahead. It's got the SSD in there. It's got like a better GPU. It's got all this stuff that's going to allow us to make things be much more advanced than we have on the PS4. And then they suddenly realised actually there's 120 million that've got PS4s. Would be silly to stop making things for them. So we kind of need to cross over. So you do see like the advantages of just using the PS5. Like things like Ratchet and Clanks and so on. Ironically, it's when you get something like a Ratchet and Clank, which is kind of in your mind a kiddie game. It's not, obviously, it's a family game, but it's that like not non-serious, fun gaming, adventure jobs are good in. But then when you get things like The Last of Us and the Spider-Mans and things where you want like the full future, the big power of Hollywood, but in video games, and then it comes out on PS4 as well, and you're like, okay, well, so these ones are being made in a way that is backwards compatible. Surely that impacts on the development for next generation content. And I believe it probably does. I mean, that said, don't get me wrong, those games still look stunning, but what could they be if they weren't being rubber banded to attach to the previous generations? And maybe that's where DLSS comes in then. And maybe that's almost like a cheat code sort of stuff. We can make stuff for the PS4 to PS5 generation, and then we can make it PS5 exclusive, air quotes, or in principle, by filling the gaps with DLSS, which then just feels like, I mean, it's that's having your cake and eating it then, which is not a bad thing. It's a good thing, really. It means that PS5 players get PS5 quality games, and PS4 players still get to play the games. It's gaming for everyone at the best of the abilities, which is good. The downside is that if you've already invested in a PS5, to get PS5 games, you will need to get a PS5 Pro. Your PS5 means that you will still be playing PS4 games or somewhere in the middle, and that's the downside of it.
Like, where do we stand then on like the Xbox's digital delivery stuff? Like, obviously, if you was to buy a game on your Xbox One, shall we say, you can still play that on your Xbox Series X, and it will automatically update, won't it? It'll look like an Xbox Series X game. Yeah, the smart delivery stuff. Like, so with what Tito was saying there, current gen consoles really being pushed graphically, if game devs are supporting it for PS4 consoles, is that the same for Xbox then? Or are we just going to lump it all into one consideration? Because I believe that they are obviously creating two different SKUs when they are creating the games. I understand that if you're having 100 people working on your PlayStation 5 Xbox Series X version, and then you're still having 40 people work on your old gen stuff, it'd probably be better to have the 140 people working on that product rather than splitting your developments. So you're splitting your staff. But and I know there will become a point where it is just going to break. Like I thought Cyberpunk probably would be that, considering what it looks like on PlayStation 4, and then obviously what is playable now on PlayStation 5. I thought that probably would go, do you know what, we probably shouldn't cater that much towards it. But I'm assuming now, like on PlayStation 4, we are still going to get games for it, but they're probably just going to be, in the next couple of years, be legacy versions of like EAFC and things like that, where they're just reskinned, new transfers. The stuff that we got on like PS Vita for 8 years or whatever it was, we had one version, then it was just every single year they bring out a new kit version or whatever it was called, the legacy update. I'm assuming that we're nearly in that pot now. What's it, PlayStation 5 4 years old nearly,
almost.
Yeah, so I think we are going to be getting to that point sometime soon anyway. But I do believe that there is a world where those two things can still live, but it is going to get to a point where it's going to age out. Like, I don't specifically think that because they're still working on PlayStation 4 versions of games, that the PlayStation 5 version is only getting 80% of the love or 80% of the work being put into it. I believe that they are still trying to put 100% in there, but they just have people knowing full well that they are still going to make a hell of a lot of money out of the PlayStation 4 versions, because there's over 100 million units out there. Is 100 million units worth of money just sat there if they don't do anything with it. So I don't know at what point they will have that cut off, but I imagine it's probably going to be fairly soon. Like, I'd love to know a conversion scale of how many people have moved from PlayStation 4 to PlayStation 5 now, because I'm betting it's still probably 35-40%. I don't even think they've reached a threshold where they're going, do you know what, we've managed to convert all those PS4 users to PS5.
I wonder if
they are expensive-ish still.
I wonder if Xbox having a cross-generational philosophy with smart delivery, I wonder if that changed things for PlayStation. I feel like it did, because you look at the PS2, PS3 comes out, and almost instantly people go, okay, well, I've got to buy the PS3 version of this game, and they buy the PS3 version of the game, or they go, well, I can't play that because I'm the PS2. I'm going to play the PS2 version for the next 3 months, but I know side by side, FIFA, for an example, that was the thing that made me realise how good the PS3 was compared to the PS2, because I was playing it on my PS2 and then saw it on my mate's PS3. I was like, yeah, well, I've got to get a PS3 now, because now I've seen that. It's different. It's a whole different kettle of fish. But Xbox, so you mentioned SKUs there. So there was a conversation. If anyone does know the exact stuff here, because I may quote this wrong, but I'm pretty sure that Xbox Smart Delivery is possible because Xbox allows you to have the same SKU on different generations. So if you play Halo on the Xbox One X, you can play it on the Xbox Series X as the same version. I don't know if that's a paid game, but I'll use that as an example as if it was. If you paid for it on the One X, you can play it on your Series X, and it's smart delivery across platforms. PlayStation doesn't allow that, even though it's the same game. That's why when you get a cross-generational version of a game, it gives you two different versions, the PS4 and the PS5, and that's where the difficulty is. I remember seeing a dev or something about that in terms of PlayStation. You can't buy it on the PS4 and then just play it on the PS5 as a PS5 version of the game because it's different SKUs, so they have to add two different versions to the PlayStation Network, the PS4 version and the PS5 version. So they've started to kind of smooth that out a little bit. They've changed the systems and the way it works so that you can get like both versions on a disc or both versions on the download, or if you stick the PS4 one in, it unlocks the PS5 one, although it will be a separate game. So they've started to figure out ways around that, but it was definitely not as clean as the Xbox equivalent, but that Xbox equivalent having the ability to play across generation. By this point, 3 years in, with 3 years and a month is what it was since the PS5 launched. 3 years in to the PS4 and the PS3 and the PS2, a lot of games companies, first parties and first parties very much so, but a lot of third parties had given up on the previous generation of consoles at that point in time. Okay, we've moved. No FIFA on this generation now, just the next generation. No eFootball on this generation, just the next generation sort of stuff. Well, PES at that point in time and beyond. But 3 years in, and we still very much feel like games are coming out on the PS4 and the PS5. And that, I feel like, is probably happening because PlayStation has to kind of keep plugging the gaps there because they can't give up on a generation that was huge for library building and building out an install base whilst Xbox are still satisfying that generation because it's a much larger generation. If PlayStation moves forward and Xbox stays there, then they can cultivate it, but they're ultimately cultivating it in the past. That's what it would have been previously on PS3, PS2. But the PS4 is... That generation, as Xbox say, it was the generation where people built up their digital libraries to move forward. So if they leave Xbox in that huge playground with 180 million users across Xbox and PlayStation, and they move into the next generation with only 30 to 50 million users at that point in time, then that's dangerous. So I feel like PlayStation have gone, well, Xbox cater for that audience. We own that audience. That was a massive audience that gave us the market control. We have to satisfy that audience. So they're plugging the gaps and reverse engineering everything to make sure it works on that platform. This DLSS, whilst it sounds like huge steps forward so we can make games bigger, brighter and shinier, I believe that probably is a way for them to keep that door open backwards and also allow us to move forwards. The flip side is that, are you really moving forwards if you've always got one eye in the rear view mirror looking back? Probably. So it's one of those.
It's making the money hand over fist still, though, isn't it? And that's ultimately what they want to be able to do. Like, again, like I mentioned before, is all that money that's still on the table with the PlayStation 4. They can't just move on from that. Like, I know it sounds ridiculous, and being able to put out the likes of Call of Duty and EA Sports, FC, and things like that, games that people are buying these consoles. These are the games that people will that's the only game they will buy that entire year. So they can't just leave those off of the table. There might be a lot of people who just play the console exclusive stuff and that's it. And you're probably getting 4 or 5 console exclusive games a year, first party stuff. So I can't see them moving on anytime soon. But at the same breath, if we are going to put them in 2 different categories where they need to start focusing on just PlayStation 5 development, because that's where the money is, at £70 a game rather than a PS4 game, which might have dropped in cost now, it might be 35 to 45 quid, then obviously that's what they want to be able to focus on. Like, I don't think Spider-Man 2 came out on the PS4, did it?
I think it did. I could be wrong.
I'm going to have to have a look at that now.
No, it did. No, Spider-Man 2, the new one that's just come out, it did come out for the PS4. Yeah.
Ah, okay.
Right. I was thinking of the first one, but they did a remastered version, but that came out for the PS4 as well.
Right.
I think that was supposed to be a PS5 exclusive at first, the original Spider-Man remastered and Miles Morales, and then they went and brought it out for the PS4 anyway, which is when people started to lose their minds and going, I thought you believed in generations. But yeah, it's smart business sense to keep that PS4 generation open, because usually what happens is you'll see, obviously, the number of players, the number of daily active users on your PS4 will start to fall. So you're probably still having a large number, but it's going down day by day, whilst your PS5 for numbers will be going up. And that's probably happening. But side by side, as we mentioned it, the last number check we had was about 60 million PS5s or something had been sold, but the last number for the previous gen was almost 130, so it's over 2 to 1. So the daily active users potential, even though it's going up for the PS5 and coming down for the PS4, is still massively higher for the PS4. So if you stop catering for that, that's a lot of money left on the table. Usually you kind of take that hit though. You go, okay, well, if we stop catering for that, people have to buy the PS5. And then that shifts, one goes down as the other goes up. But if Xbox are keeping that generation open, and like Baby says, you play one game. A lot of people do play one game. I mean, it can't be me playing 87% of my time on PUBG, goddamn. But a lot of people do want to play one game. And it is just FIFA, and it is just Call of Duty, which is available cross-platform. And I'm not particularly bothered, because I only play one game. It's a social exercise for me to just hang around with my mates and so on. I'm not bothered about having 4K or DLSS or HDMI 2.1 or SSDs and all that stuff. As long as I can play with my mates, jobs are good. So yeah, why do I buy a PS5 when I can just get the Xbox Series S or a One X cheap or something like that and just play it that way? Jobs are good, and I'll just keep playing the games year upon year there until 3 to 5 years into the next generation. I'll get my next console, and then they're looking at. But by that point, though, if you've got an Xbox and you've got all of this stuff, and you've probably then bought Game Pass and so on, you're like, oh, well, I'll just buy a new Xbox then. So PlayStation are probably more so, because of that smart delivery, they've had to redeploy and face backwards and look after the PS4 and tailor that for longer than they would have done. So Tito's question, are current gen consoles really being pushed graphically? I don't believe they are, but I believe that's because they are both trying to mop up as much of what's happening behind them before they can fully move forward. And this DLSS stuff definitely adds boosts for going forward, but also allows them to also deliver some of those boosts while still looking backwards. So smart moves either way. Whatever happens, we get an upgrade. So it might not be the upgrade we want, but it's the upgrade we deserve, or some butchered Batman reference. But there we go. We'll put a pin in that one. PS5 Pro could launch in 2024. Rumors are PlayStation have made their own proprietary DLSS type super sampling. So AI goes, we can make this look prettier, and therefore everything looks badass, which is good, because top-end PS5 games look phenomenal. If we can make them look even better, jobs are good. And if we can do that while still allowing people to play on PS4s, then even better still, because in economically developed areas of the world like the UK and Europe, where I assume a lot of us are from, then, okay, that's great, but there's parts of the world where PS4 still is pretty expensive, so getting rid of that is not an option. So if we can keep people playing, then, win-win, nice. Keeping people playing is exactly what Naughty Dog want to do. Let's jump into our next article, written by Shubhankar Parijat over at Gaming Bolt. It says, title, Naughty Dog says it's working on multiple, quote, ambitious, brand new, end quote, single-player games. Leaks have previously claimed that The Last of Us Part 3 is in development, while there have also been suggestions that the studio is working on a new IP. So Naughty Dog has announced that it has officially ended development on Last of Us Online, with the studio explaining that the decision was made so it could continue to focus on crafting the narrative-driven, single-player experiences it's known for. And interestingly enough, it turns out there are more than one of those games in development at Naughty Dog right now. The same was confirmed by the developer in the official blog post announcing The Last of Us Online's cancellation. Naughty Dog wrote, quotes, we have more than one ambitious, brand new single-player game that we're working on here at Naughty Dog, and we cannot wait to share more about what comes next when we're ready. End quote. Studio president and creative director Neil Druckmann previously confirmed in June last year that his next directorial single-player project had entered development. What these projects are, or how many of them are simultaneously being worked on, is anyone's guess right now, and Naughty Dog itself probably won't be making any announcements on that front in the near future. But as always, there's no shortage of speculation and rumours out there. Leaks have repeatedly insisted that The Last of Us Part 3 is in development, while there has also been speculation about a new IP being in the works. Did you see this? Last of Us Online getting cancelled?
I didn't. Do you know what? I didn't until they've come out and said that they've got new IPs ready to. Well, they're working on new IPs, and I thought, do you know what? It probably makes more sense. It comes down to money again. We've just been going through a fiscal calendar of what the PlayStation are going to be doing, but I imagine this is the same as well. Like, I can't remember whether or not this was the Last of Us Online were going to be a free update, or it was one that you'd have to pay for to be able to have access to. But I imagine the amount of people who would be buying The Last of Us Online versus a new IP or a continuous game in an already established IP, they're not even anywhere close to being the same. So it probably makes more sense for them to ditch it. It's a shame because I know a lot of people were excited for it with obviously what came previously with the faction stuff, but ultimately it just comes down to purse strings, doesn't it? They want to be able to try and rake in as much as they can, spending as little as possible. That is business. This shouldn't be news to anybody. So it doesn't surprise me that they've started to can it, especially if they are going to be working on a new IP of sorts.
Just trying to get the title to fit. There's too many big words in there, so I've had to kind of cut it down. Okay, we'll go with that. Naughty Dog, multiple brand new games is what it says. I missed out the ambitious, missed out the single player, but we can chew that in the fat as we go through. Mm-hmm. Yeah, for anyone that missed it last week then, so there was an article that came out, and there is a channel on Twitter called Naughty Dog World, run by Garlic Clark, one of the friends of the channel. Massive Naughty Dog fan. He has been for years. That channel has been running for years, and it's popped off massively recently. He's doing a very, very good job with that, and that's where I saw it. Basically, I saw a lot of people saying, fuck you guys, at Bungie, because Bungie were brought in to be there being Sony's, and brought in being Sony acquired Bungie to oversee their software as a service, games as a service sort of platform, that open-ended live service, battle pass heavy sort of content. PlayStation had 15 titles in development, and anything they've released has been a bit gash. So they brought in Bungie's experience working on Destiny to try and oversee everything else elsewhere. And everyone's saying, well, Bungie's looked at this, gone, it's shit. To make it properly work, you will need to kill so much stuff. It'll take so much time. Let's just sack it off. However, Naughty Dog's actual phrasing was basically, to make it an online game that continues forever will require so much resources consistently to launch and then post-launch and so on, that it will get in the way of delivering the big showpiece single-player experiences that we are known for. So we can't let anything jeopardize what we actually want to do for a side project. So they pulled the plug on it there, effectively, which makes sense. It is kind of one of those, like, did it need to be an all-singing, all-dancing, ever-evolving Fortnite, Apex, PUBG, Destiny-esque single-player game as a service that goes forever? Could we not have just had a multiplayer segment that lasted for a couple of years and jobs are good on? And the other bit is, like, look at what has happened with those games. Your Fortnites, your Apexes, your GTA Onlines and things. There is a huge world for opening up your game into an online-only element as well. So that could have given us other experiences. But for every one that succeeds, there's 50 others that don't. So you can kind of understand their trepidation when it came to that. But multiple ambitious, brand new single-player games.
Mm-hmm.
What are you thinking? Are we getting more Last of Us? Are we getting more Uncharted's? Are Uncharted's being left? Do we get something new? I mean, this kind of hints across all of it. What are you thinking?
I think it's difficult to say because there was a rumor that they was already working on The Last of Us Part 3. So I don't know whether or not that feeds into this rumor. This information with that feeding off of the rumor. I don't know. I genuinely don't know what they're going to be able to pull out, but Naughty Dog do what Naughty Dog does best, and that's create exceptionally well-written storylines. So whatever it is that they're going to do, I imagine is going to be a huge success for them. So they remind me a little bit of Rockstar. When they put something out, it's got the quality seal of approval, the golden stamp, that those kind of whatever words that you want to use to try and describe what they end up putting out, but it always seems to be golden. Like it's always a fantastic piece of work. So Yeah, I don't know. I mean, whatever it is that they're going to put out, wish them the best with it. So yeah, I'm not necessarily too sure what is going to hold for them. But the rumors are suggesting that The Last of Us 3 is already in development. So whether or not again that comes off of the back of this, I'm not too sure.
Yeah, Sega's phrasing was super game. So you got something like a Fortnite or something like a GTA Online. These are super games, massive games that live forever. I feel like Naughty Dog is one of the few companies that could use their strong IPs and development prowess to deliver a super game, but Naughty Dog clearly doesn't want to have that super game because it is a massive risk. It will cost you hundreds of millions in development to get billions back, but there is also a significant risk before you even get a chance of getting those billions back. So Naughty Dog clearly looked at it and gone, okay, well, this is hundreds of billions in development, and we might not get it back. So let's just stick to the one that will get us hundreds of millions in development and get us billions, but not forever open-ended like GTA. We'll just earn the billions and billions that we get from Uncharted, from The Last of Us, from whatever else we make, and we'll just continue being critically acclaimed and massively financially profitable, which, do you know what? I actually massively appreciate that. They've gone, we do something, and we do it incredibly well. Why don't we just do that? Rather than being greedy and trying to take over the world, how about we just live the extreme life of luxury that we have right now? And very few game companies do that. Very few go, do you know what, we're on top, let's stop, let's stay where we are. And they always aim for a bit more. And I'm a big fan of seeing this because The Last of Us is up there with one of my best games of all time. Uncharted is up there with one of my best series of all time. And I feel like if you've done that for two different series in the same sort of time frame, you've clearly perfected the process of delivering Hollywood engaging cinematic storylines in video games. No one else does it as good. For me, at all. Nobody comes close. So just keep playing towards that strength. And it seems like that's what they're doing. Because even though I would rate The Last of Us and Uncharted really highly, I've not played any of their online multiplayer components because I loaded up The Last of Us 1 and thought, this is a bit clunky. These controls and stuff weren't made for multiplayer games. And we're in a world where multiplayer-only games exist now. People develop games just to be played online with mates as shooters and so on. So those functions, those maps, your character's traversal and stuff are created bespokely for that game. So shoehorning a really great linking animation from single player into multiplayer doesn't necessarily work because the fact that it's really good and smooth and buttery and looks beautiful, but it takes you 3 seconds to do. All right, well, you're dead then. So what does it matter?
Yeah.
As sad as it makes me, I would love to have tried some multiplayer bits off the back of it. Probably not for long, but that in itself makes me say this is a smart decision. So yeah, well played, Naughty Dog. Naughty Dog is releasing multiple brand new, ambitious new games, but obviously at the expense of multiplayer for The Last of Us. The Last of Us Online, which was announced a while ago, has been canned as of last week, if you didn't catch the news. Benno Wilson, welcome in. King Comic, how you doing, mate? What's up, fellas? Hope you're well. Loving the NY shirt. Thank you, mate. I hope you're doing well. Mr. Wilson, I saw you got a sub the other day. I think it was Nietzsche, potentially. Dropped you a sub. Enjoy those emotes and that ad-free viewing. How you doing, mate? I have never played Uncharted myself. Surprising that, Lake. For someone that likes films and you've got quite a good sort of sprawling, what's the word I'm looking for? Eclectic taste when it comes to movies and so on. I would very much recommend Uncharted as a video game series. I played through it with Danielle because it was like playing through. If you like 80s action movies, taking 80s action movies and put it into modern video games, that's effectively what it is. So Uncharted 1, good. Uncharted 2, excellent. And then 3 and 4, phenomenal as well. So very much recommended. The series, phenomenal. Definitely recommend. How's things, guys? Good, mate? Are you? You all set for Christmas? Yeah. Tritium Cat, any mods? What, in the channel? Or on the games? You need to be specific. Yeah. But welcome into the stream. Zed Manskar, thank you for the follow. I missed that one 16 minutes ago. I appreciate you, dude. If you can call at Ted Not that, maybe. Yeah. Yeah.
Full sod.
All good. Nice. I wanted to slide into your DMs the other day. Do you not exist on Twitter anymore? I tried to send you a message for something worky related, and I couldn't find you, so I got distracted. Yeah, you, mate. Do you accept whistleblowers? I don't know what to do with that question.
that's an interesting statement.
No, I don't. On Twitter, Insta, I do. Do I have you? I'm quite lax when it comes to Insta, to be fair.
I just watch reels all the time. Love it.
Yeah, although I tend to do that when I'm like, Facebook is shit because Facebook is garbage. I don't know. I don't know if I actually do follow you on Insta. Sorry, everyone can sit and talk amongst yourselves while I figure this out.
Yeah, we'll find out. We're eagerly anticipating this information.
Well, if it drop me a message on Insta and I'll drop you one back, or I'll try to remember to catch you at your stream. But anyway, I'll probably drop you a whisper or something. I can do that on Twitch. I know how to do that one. Nice. No whispers for the mods, so I can't explain. Oh, okay. It's fine. If you have to jump into whispers and stuff, then it's probably not a conversation that needs to be done in the middle of a podcast. So we'll move on. Like a base hunter type whistleblower, like a DJ Alligator Project. Blow your whistle, bitch. Yeah, okay, nice. Okay, moving along, we'll talk about Activision Blizzard now. Take that down and bring this one back up. Andy Robinson at VGC says Activision Blizzard to pay $54 million to settle a discrimination lawsuit. So that's as much as 46.75 million will be paid to female employees who claim they'd received inequitable pay. So Activision Blizzard will pay a $54 million settlement to end the 2021 sex discrimination lawsuit, as first reported by the Wall Street Journal via VentureBeat. The publisher, which was acquired by Microsoft in October, entered into an agreement with the California Civil Rights Department to settle the case, which is
Look at the size of that cat. Meow.
Oh no.
Meow.
Oh
meow.
no, we're getting meowed by Spike.
Meow. 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 Meow.
We're all just talk amongst yourselves. Nice.
Well, this is going. I'm going for a piss. Back
nice.
a sec.
Spike, thank you for 46 months. Thank you very much. I appreciate you. And your massive cat. Where do we get to? Okay, yes. Okay, I'll start again. As for first report by the Wall Street Journal via VentureBeat, the publisher, which was acquired by Microsoft in October, entered into an agreement with the California Civil Rights Department to settle the case, which is related to claims of unequal compensation and promotion practices on the basis of sex from 2015 to 2020. Activision Blizzard will pay as much as $46.75 million to female employees who claim they'd received inequitable pay during this period. $9.125 million will cover attorneys' fees. Under the agreement, which is subject to court approval, Activision Blizzard will take additional steps to help ensure fair pay and promotion practices at the company, according to the CRD. The California CRD agreed that, quote, no court or any independent investigation has substantiated any claims of systemic or widespread sexual harassment at Activision Blizzard, nor that Activision Blizzard senior executives ignored, condoned, or tolerated a culture of systemic harassment, retaliation, or discrimination. The settlement also said that its investigation found no evidence of wrongdoing by Bobby Kotick, CEO of Activision Blizzard, or its board. The state's expert witnesses testified that a gender pay gap existed overall, but a pay disparity was not found among employees of the same rank. California remains deeply committed to promoting and enforcing the civil rights of women in the workplace, said CRD Director Kevin Kish. If approved by the court, this settlement agreement represents a major step forward and will bring direct relief to Activision Blizzard workers. At the California Civil Rights Department, we will continue to do our part to fight for the rights of our state's residents. Activision Blizzard said in a statement, we are gratified that we have reached an agreement with the California Civil Rights Department today, as the CRD has now announced in a press statement. We appreciate the importance of the issues addressed in this agreement, and we are dedicated to fully implementing all the new obligations we have assumed as a part of it. We want our employees to know that, as the agreement specifies, we are committed to ensuring fair compensation and promoting policies and practices for all our employees, and we will continue our efforts regarding inclusion of qualified candidates from underrepresented communities in outreach, recruitment, and retention. We are also gratified that the CRD has agreed to file an amended complaint that entirely withdraws its 2021 claims alleging widespread and systemic workplace harassment at Activision Blizzard. As the CRD acknowledged explicitly in the agreement, CRD is filing, along with a proposed content decree a second amended complaint that withdraws, among other allegations and causes of action, the fifth cause of action, employment discrimination because of sex harassment. I'm going to stop there because it's gone full legal spiel. Nice. 54 million people paid to people that have been discriminated against, allegedly. I want to point out here that this is a settlement out of court. This isn't that anyone has been found guilty, but also anyone has been found innocent. So just because, obviously, the CRD, in reaching this settlement, has said, yeah, okay, there's grounds that we'll withdraw a statement. We're not saying it's not possible. We're saying it's not been proven and founded, and there's a very significant difference there. So you wouldn't be paying 54 million if there wasn't anything to clear up. Now, like I say, clearing up doesn't necessarily mean guilt, once again. So we're never going to find this. We always said that this would probably get paid out of court, they'd reach some sort of settlement. But the fact that $54 million has been spent means that there was a lot of stuff that could have caused problems. And it could have just caused $54 million worth of headaches going forward. So paying it out now gets rid of it entirely. Whether the problems happened or not is now kind of irrelevant in that sort of sense. It's not. It's very, very relevant. But in that sort of sense, it's kind of irrelevant now. But what we do have is $54 million worth of reparations and systemic changes that will allow for this to not happen going forward. If it did or didn't happen, allegedly, I don't know. But I'm not going to forget very quickly that there was a lot of different news stories from a lot of different sources that were talking about detailed situations of in-office harassment, frat culture, to the point where someone even committed suicide as a result of the bullshit that they were put through. That doesn't just happen. So I'm not going to quickly forget that stuff's happened, but naturally, what am I going to do now? Everyone's agreed, everyone shook hands and taken a big old wedge of cash. We'll put a pin in that with the proviso that Activision actually started to do something about that now. That's what the CRD are holding them to task for, and hopefully we start to see that stuff going forward. What are your thoughts, Mr. Bibb?
Yeah, pretty much all of that. Like, if there's money exchange in hands, they've come to an agreement somewhere that there has been some malpractice along the way. But if this means that they have to put processes in place to protect future workers, then it's money well spent.
I don't even know if this is going to fit. It's going to be too big. Oh, fuck. Let's get rid of the discrimination. We'll just put lawsuit. Activision to pay 54 million to settle lawsuit. Nice. Whistleblower equals news not yet known. Oh, I know what a whistleblower is, but just the question coming out of do you accept whistleblower? So you want to give us a news story? Is that what you're saying? Is that what you're saying? Yes. Okay. I mean, send a whisper on Twitch. We will see it after the show. We don't cover breaking news live like that, so we'd feature it tomorrow and stuff. But yeah, feel free to fire us a whisper. For now, though, back into the news. Activision Blizzard to pay $54 million to settle a discrimination lawsuit. I mean, there's a very, how do I put it, inflammatory statement that there is. Oh, it's quite on brand for what I'm about to say. Inflammatory statement is there's no smoke without fire. But my personal feeling, and once again, my personal feeling is irrelevant because I don't work for the California CRD or Activision Blizzard. But judging off the stories and stuff that came out over the last couple of years when we've been covering it, my personal opinion is that in this situation, there's no smoke without fire because it feels like something was very, very wrong. Whether they've been cleared for it or whatever, they've paid $54 million to be cleared of it. So, you know,
genuinely, you don't pay that amount of money for no reason. There would have been something that someone may have been on the right lines and being able to dig up and get down to the actual nitty gritty of stuff. They may have been on the wrong track and say, okay, well, let's settle this debate now. We'll pay out of court now. And that's why obviously the money is starting to exchange hands, is whether or not they would have gone down further down the line and gone, actually, rather than being 56 million, it's actually 65 million now. But yeah, I reckon there was onto something, which is why they've had to pay money now, because it'll be cheaper now than it would be maybe in 12 months' time when they actually find something.
just got a message. Scoop that does not cover breaking news. We do cover breaking news, but only from legitimate sources. So someone saying, trust me, bro, as a source is not necessarily something we call breaking news. That's something that we'd call potential bullshit. It might not be. Might be wonderful. But yeah, people on the internet are people on the internet, right? So yeah, we do cover. I mean, I've just seen the message come through now. I definitely won't be calling you. Contact me. I have serious evidence that I can get into. It would be far easier to explain over a call. I have no social media. Whisper or call me. I don't think that will be the case. So if you had serious evidence about something, maybe telling me what about would have been the best way to go. This is a new one. People just randomly going, please call me. Like, if this is an attempt at trolling, it's weak. And if it's an attempt at actually sharing a news story, it's also weak because you're going about it in a very wrong way. So yeah, some outlines or be gone.
This relates to Cambridge Analytics. On a video game podcast.
Cambridge Analytica. So the, I mean, what have they done to the video games? Like, obviously, there's all sorts of political stuff around them, but what have they done to video games? Do you know what? We'll put a pin in that. What we will do is jump over to our final news article, which is about E3. Obviously, you may have seen this last year. Andy Robertson at VGC has this article. E3 is officially dead, organiser confirms. We know it's difficult to say goodbye to such a beloved event, but it's the right thing to do. So E3, the games industry's former flagship annual event, is officially dead. Organiser, the Entertainment Software Association, ESA, has said. Obviously, we kind of saw this coming. The writing was on the wall, but it's a pain to hear it actually in writing, but the article says, quote, after more than 2 decades of hosting an event that has served as a central showcase for the US and global video games industry, the ESA has decided to end E3, President Stanley Pierre-Louis said in a statement. Quote, we know the entire industry, players and creators alike have a lot of passion for E3. We share that passion, he added. We know it's difficult to say goodbye to such a beloved event, but it's the right thing to do given the new opportunities our industry has to reach fans and partners. E3 was created in 1995 as a means for retailers to meet with game publishers. The event quickly became the tentpole of the industry calendar, attracting millions of eyes and media coverage from around the world. However, in recent years, many game publishers questioned its relevance as the digital world empowered them to reach out directly to their audiences. The pandemic turbocharged this shift, and despite attempts at resurrecting E3, it never recovered. E3 was due to return for its first in-person show in 4 years this summer as part of a multi-year deal with PAX organiser ReedPop. However, after months of build-up and uncertainty, the show was cancelled in March. At the time, ReedPop claimed it, quote, simply did not garner the sustained interest necessary to execute it in a way that would showcase the size, strength, and impact of our industry, end quote. The events company later parted ways with E3 organiser the ESA, with the latter claiming in September that it was evaluating every aspect of the industry. In E3's absence, many other events took place in LA in June, including producer Jeff Keighley's rival Summer White Dude Fest, Ubisoft Forward, and an Xbox... Oh, sorry, it's the Summer Game Fest, sorry, and an Xbox Showcase. Bit of banner for those that do stick around for the previous podcasts. Speaking of VGC, Keighley dismissed suggestions that competition from his rival event was partly responsible for the cancellation of E3 2023. Of course he did. In a new interview with the Washington Post, Pierre-Louis suggested he was aware of the circumstances that led to E3's demise. There were fans who were invited to attend in the later years, but it really was about a marketing and business model for the industry and being able to provide the world with information about new products, he said. Companies now have access to consumers and to business relations through a variety of means, including their own individual showcases. And we're finished. So the article, E3 is officially dead, the organiser confirms. We kind of knew this was going to happen. We've been talking about this for a few years. We're lucky to have attended E3 as ICU in 2019, the last installment. Sadly, we didn't get to go to another one, but it's looked that way for a while. Partially through E3's own doing. The ESA dropped the ball on E3 multiple times. They very much knew that they were sat on the cash cow, the big dance, the showpiece, the main event of the video games calendar, and then thought, okay, well, people need us. We don't need people. It's like FIFA and EA Sports, that sort of stuff. It was like, yeah, we're FIFA, you need our name. And then everyone else was FIFA, EA, which is everyone else in the games industry in this instance, went, do you know what, fuck it, we don't need you. We can do this on our own. And that's kind of what it is. The ESA built this platform to lift everyone up. Everyone learned and started doing it for their own. And then the ESA's E3 was like this big, lumbering, expensive showpiece where your news is drowned out by everyone else. Why would I spend so much time and effort to compete for showtime when I can just do my own bits on my own calendar? And we don't make video games just for Christmas anymore because people play games all year round now, so why do I need that? So it makes absolute sense for E3 to not be here, but it's gutting nonetheless because I wish they'd have found a way to make that central celebratory showpiece, because video games is celebratory, it is communal, it is something based around experiences that are solo but shared as well. And E3 definitely allowed for that more than the Xbox Showcase, more than a State of Play and PlayStation Experience, because people have their own experiences in their own bubbles now. There is no cross-pollination. You're not getting an Xbox conference straight after a PlayStation conference. They're a week apart, 2 weeks apart, a month apart, because they don't want to step on each other's toes. And it's segregated, which makes sense. But sometimes making sense isn't, you don't get that raw, emotive feeling. You get planned. Organised fun is never really fun, is it? It's what you're supposed to have kind of thing. So, yeah, it makes sense, but it's still heartbreaking. What are your thoughts, Mr. Bibb?
Yeah, it's a shame because we've just lost another video game convention. But they didn't evolve with the times, which is obviously something that you can't do in a digital media age. Making things far too expensive for people who wanted to attend, not just as a consumer, but as someone who would be wanting to, rent a little bit of the shop floor. So, unfortunately, if you don't evolve with the times, you get left behind, and that's essentially what they did. I mean, a lot of the things were instantly avoidable that didn't cost them anything to be able to try and fix, but they, like you said, they dropped the ball. So, yeah, it's a shame. It was kind of written on the wall maybe 3 years ago. But yeah, it's hopefully something else will take its place, because it was a Gamers Christmas. Like the amount of things that got announced during that time period, and for people who was obviously attending as video game journalists or as genuine consumers, it was a fantastic place for people to be able to get together, maybe see their gaming friends or whatever. Basically just like a social convention center. But yeah, it is a crying shame that it's gone. Unfortunately, it was their own downfall with the way that they treated it. Hopefully we'll get something in its place, but I'm not going to hold my breath at this moment in time because it is such an expensive thing to be able to try and put together. I mean, Gamescom for me is still up there as the best, and even they have their own problems and some teething issues. So it's not an easy thing to just walk into and say, we're going to host one, and then hope that people end up giving you a load of money to advertise their stuff or rent your floor space. So yeah, it's only time will tell, as does everything when it comes to digital media.
Absolutely. All conventions struggle, the more online presence takes over, says Benno Wilson. E3 dead. Time for E4 to rise. All right, Graham. Honestly, God. Almost like I shared that on the Discord the other day, and then Chap has responded with to my tweet with an E4 Channel 4 logo. He says, wait until you find out about this. Oh, no. Benno says, thing is, a good TikTok can reach 100,000 people in seconds. A convention might reach 50,000 people for a huge cost. Yeah, like, what were the numbers? Was it like 80,000 to 100,000 for E3 in person? Obviously, there was millions generated off the back of the broadcasts around it, and those millions led to huge memifying / mind share moments. Spider-Man, the games, were successful because of their E3 conferences. They just hit with a perfect trailer at the right time, and people wanted a piece of the action. And you get things like the PlayStation, this is how you share games on PlayStation moments and stuff like all those sort of banter bits live on because of the moment. and the time and the when and the who you're talking to and where it's going to impact and so on. You don't really get that with something like a TikTok, because obviously that's tailored to specific audiences. People consume it at different times. It's not that everyone has to tune in for the World Cup final at the exact same time. Boom, 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 shared experience. So there definitely is still a place for that in the video games industry, and Jeff Keighley proves that with Summer Game Fest and with the Game Awards. The downside is that without the ESA delivering that, the ESA charge a big chunk of cash to make sure it goes to like organisers' guidelines and does the best for the industry and makes the best for the industry components within it. The ESA is the Entertainment Software Association. So you got your brands like PlayStations and your Xboxes and Ubisofts and so on that are all paying subscriptions to the ESA. And as a result of that, the ESA is beholden to making sure that they are doing a good job. Not a good job, are represented well, should I say. And that means you don't get those 30 seconds. Can you wrap it up, please? You've been talking for 30 seconds. That's way too long sort of moments, outweighed by Jeff Keighley dancing around on stage with the Muppets. Like, you don't get that sort of one-man superpower in charge, being able to throw his weight and his cash around at the expense of everyone else. You don't get that with the ESA. You do get a lot of bullshit red tape stuff, clearly, and bad decisions and outsourcing stuff to agencies that will leak press data to the fucking internet. There is a lot of bad stuff that comes with the ESA, but the good stuff is that you get that industry impartial central point that isn't governed by one individual person that has an aim to make profit. It's about the whole industry at large. And we don't have that independent body anymore over the top of that. So we do have a space and we do have a need for things like the Game Awards and Summer Game Fest. It's just not going to be done by the ESA. It's going to be done by PlayStation and by Jeff Keighley and by Xbox and Ubisoft Forward and EA Play and everyone else that has their own individual bits. And it's a bit shit that we don't have it all in the same window anymore. You can't sit there and be like, oh, E3 starts at fucking 5 p.m. tonight for the Xbox conference, and then at 8 p.m. we'll have like the Square Enix conference, and then at 1 a.m. we'll have the PlayStation thingy, and then at 3 a.m. we'll have the PC games conference, and we'll all come in absolutely red-eyed and bags under our eyes tomorrow for work. You all right? Yeah, just watch the PC games conference. What did they show? Fuck knows. I was like 19 hours awake at that point in time. Can't remember. So, like, we miss out on those moments, and that's the bit that's sad for me. It absolutely makes sense, though. Whilst E3 was a phenomenal sharing experience, the reason I use the phrase Game of Christmas is Christmas is emotive and so on, but it's very over the top as well by design, and so was E3. It was this communal thing that was really good and brought us lots of content, but it wasn't necessarily the smartest way of delivering that content. Not in 2023. Live streams direct to their audiences that it needed to be is the smartest way of doing that, but smart is often boring, and like it's the chaos that comes with E3 that can make shit moments. It can mean conferences just get labelled as, well, you lost, you failed E3, PlayStation won, Xbox was shit, but Xbox might have an absolute gem in there that then gets shit on because of everything else and so on. So E3 has a lot of negative points that comes with it, as does everything. There's swings and roundabouts, positives and negatives for both ways, but even still, that huge week-long gamer celebration run by an independent body, I'm going to miss. I'm not a fan of seeing, and I've said this multiple times over the course of the year, particularly over the last week, I'm not a fan of seeing us get into the big E3 moment of summer, which is Summer Game Fest now, and having one bloke go, here's the trailer for Summer Game Fest that I personally edited. It's not about you. It's about the industry and the people that you only give 30 seconds to talk when they've just won the best game award of the entire year. You spent more time talking about yourself than letting them talk. Fuck you. So, but we don't get that with the ESA and E3, and that's the bit that I'm going to miss. So, yeah. Big drop, big loss. Unfortunate, but we move. Times move. This is life. Baldur's Gate 3 earned Game of the Year. Is Alan Wake 2 as good as people say? Baldur's Gate 3 did earn Game of the Year, and they got 30 seconds to talk, despite talking about lost staff and so on. It was, okay, wrap it up, please. Bizarre. Alan Wake 2 apparently is as good. I've not played it. For games, of course, there's a lot of reach off the back, but there's too many streamers with cheaper impressions now, and then for hardware vendors, the costs are rarely recouped from a convention. Oh, absolutely. So that's the thing. Like, E3 was, I mean, it mentioned in the article, didn't it? Like it was all about retailers being able to speak to the industry and vice versa. But when you put that, you morph that bit into a public conference. The retailer stuff isn't just taking a few kits to bring up on a stage and this is what you should buy for the summer. You're not selling to retailers, you're selling to the public, so you need bigger stands.
Yeah.
And then that's happening in the fucking Los Angeles Convention Center, which is one of the biggest and most expensive convention centers in one of the biggest and most expensive cities in the world. It suddenly becomes extreme. So yeah, that part of it definitely is flat. Like for people to go there and make money off the back of that, you need to have a phenomenal event, or know that you're about to lose shitloads of money and it's all about long tail marketing. Our plan is to seed this part of our marketing, and then over the next 9 months we'll recoup the money back through our partnerships, our announcements, our putting ourselves into the mindshare of people for longer tail. But even then, most people have to have it as a loss leader. Okay, we'll lose money on this, but we get the brand out. It is what it is. But when it costs that much, it's not a loss leader, it's just a loss. You don't recoup. So, yeah, for that side, definitely makes sense to can it kibosh. And then E3 should just focus just on the broadcasting side of things. But why would people do that then? Why would people go into the E3-only stream when I can actually... My channel has 1 million subscribers, and me putting out my content on my own channel means I speak to my 1 million engaged subscribers. But because I'm putting the content out and it's the new PlayStation game of choice, that might get me another 20,000 followers. So the next time I'm speaking to 1,020,000, and then the next time it's 1,100,000, 1.1 million, and then it's 1.2 million, and then it's 1.5 million on my own channel. Why am I feeding your channel when I can feed mine? So I see no way for E3 to get back involved with this without doing something like an award show or something like Jeff Keighley's done. And I would very much appreciate the ESA or someone getting involved in that, because
please.
Okay, we're going to wrap things up there. That was the final news article of the day, I believe it was. Yes, so we spoke about the fact that the PS5 Pro could launch in 2024 with Sony's own DLSS solution. Naughty Dog is working on several ambitious brand new single-player games, apparently. Activision Blizzard is set to pay $54 million to settle its discrimination lawsuit, and E3 is officially dead. We all knew that already, but we hadn't had a chance to talk about it on stream. But now we have. Nice. So we're going to wrap things up. If you are watching on the front page, please do feel free to click through to the channel, because you will be taken along with our raid to see our friends. Make sure you hit the follow button as well if you are watching and you haven't done it before. That way you will get notified whenever we go live. Just a reminder that we may be back, or hopefully we'll be back with content tomorrow, and then we'll be back on Wednesday with hopefully a scoop and Chasing Crates with Mates in the evening. Then that is the end of scheduled content for the rest of the year. Birthdays.
Maybe. Thursday is obviously Joseph's birthday, but my football's finished now until like the 16th of January, so I might be able to jump on later on in the evening, like maybe 9 o'clock or something like that, for a little bit of Fortnite. Ad hoc. So stay tuned with that one.
Well, if
but
people
yeah, I've no football on Thursdays now.
Ad hoc. What's the best way to get notified for that bit?
Well, first of all, thank you very much for finding this channel. Second of all, follow us on all of our socials. It's at Ice Cream Uploads across all major social media platforms. But the best way to keep the conversation going is to follow us and get involved with our Discord. Our Discord doesn't stop when the show does. It's just constantly going on, believe me. So yeah, get into our Discord. We are constantly talking in there, whether or not it's just between ourselves or with our fabulous community, which we've obviously got you guys along the ride with us.
Sorry, I've just seen Ben's instant miss, so I was responding to him. Hi! So yeah, we are going to wrap things up. Please stick around. We'll drop a raid on one of our friends. We will hopefully be back tomorrow with the next episode of the show, and then Wednesday for a double trouble bit of content. Fingers crossed. But before any of that happens, is there anything else you'd like to add, Mr. Bibb?
Yes, we only have a few shows left of this year. So again, thank you very much for following us through our entire content creation year. Is this 7 years now? Ish.
Yeah, we are in our 7th year, so we'll be 7 years old next November, but we are in our 7th year. Yeah.
So yeah, well over 700 episodes of The Scoop, so we do thank you very much for obviously joining us along the way. But yeah, 2 episodes left of this year. If you want to help shape those shows, there is 2 ways you can do so. First of all, find us on social media. It is at Ice Cream Uploads across all major social media platforms, or alternatively, get involved with our Discord. If you're watching this in any of our on-demand services, go into the description below. All the links that you require will be listed there. But all we need from you is a URL plus your thoughts and opinions. We will then give you our thoughts and opinions on the very next show. Which will be at what time? Potentially tomorrow, Mr. Grim Day.
Probably like 2 in the afternoon, maybe. I don't know. I mean, 10 a.m.
Confirmed.
Ish. So yeah, usually we aim for 10 a.m. ish. Tomorrow probably not 10 a.m. ish. So we'll see how we get on. Hashtag ad. What is it? You got an ad? Goddamn. Anyway, please do feel free to stick around. We're going to find one of our friends to pass a little bit of love on. Obviously,
Fixer.
Ooh, Fixer.
4.0, no pixels gone live.
Nice. So Fixer then played some GTA 5. Do feel free to join the raid for that. Obviously, we are on the front page, so we may have over 500 people watching the stream right now. A lot of those are coming through the front page. You don't get pulled into the raids. So make sure if you want to go to the raid, click on the channel. It'll bring you through to us on Twitch, and that way you can get involved in the raid as we jump forward. If you don't, well, enjoy whoever's next up on the carousel, and we'll hopefully see you next time. But until then, have yourselves a beautiful day, and stay frosty!
Stay frosty!